Why British gave freedom to India? British had ruled India for about 200 years, but in 1947 they decided to give freedom to India. So, what were the reasons that compelled British to give freedom to India? One was that there was growing strength of anti-British sentiments in India. Quit India movement had shown that people that the people of India could go to any extent to expel the Britishers from India. A huge support to the Quit India movement had showed British rulers that it would not be easy to keep them under control. Secondly, Subhash Chandra Bose had established Indian National Army, and the huge support from Indian masses to the Subhash Chandra Bose Indian National Army had also surprised British. British had now come to realize that their days were numbered in India. Secondly, the Britishers were losing the loyalty of the Indian personnel in the Navy, Air Force, and Army, particularly Navy. Armed forces had now become politically aware. On 19th February 1946, a section of Royal Indian Navy stopped work and gave a notice to government that unless their demands are met by a particular date, they will resign. Strikes were also held by Indian personnel in the Air Force. British were losing the control over the Indian personnel in the armed forces. British could not control a big country like India only with the help of British soldiers. For this, they needed the support of Indian soldiers also. But the Indian personnel in the armed forces had not remained loyal to the British now. Therefore, the British started seriously thinking about leaving India forever. Another reason was that after the Second World War, the soldiers of Indian National Army were tried in the court. Uh, Colonel Shah Nawaz, Captain Sehgal, and Dhillon were sentenced to transportation for life. The trials of Indian National Army officers, these were published in the newspapers. Demonstrations were held all over India against the trials of Indian National Army personnel. Under public pressure, the British government declared to release all the Indian National Army officers and men. And these men, when they were released, they were welcomed like heroes by the Indian people. So this was discouraging for the British. This attitude of the Indians had proved that now the British will no longer be able to keep India in chains. Another reason was that in the Second World War, British had spent so much money that its treasury had gone exhausted. The the economic condition of British was so bad that they had to borrow from other countries even for the foodstuffs and to meet their basic needs. A large portion of British was also destroyed due to bombing in the Second World War. British needed a lot of energy, time, and focus to rebuild their country. They decided to leave India and other colonies so that they could fully concentrate on rebuilding their own country. Another important reason was that in the Second World War, Indian soldiers had fought along with the British at foreign fronts. So, British soldiers had seen the poverty and the poor conditions of the Indian soldiers. They had also come to know about the poverty and poor condition of the Indians from the Indian soldiers. When the war was over, so these British soldiers, when they went back to their homes, they told about the pitiable condition of Indians to their friends and families. This created a wave of sympathy in the general public of England. Many people in the England were of opinion that if the Indians are given freedom, perhaps they could become better economically. So this is the reason that there was a unanimous support given by members of parliament to the Indian Independence Bill in July 1947. When the Indian Independence Bill was placed in the British Parliament in July 1947, all the members of the Parliament voted in favor of this bill.